I need to tell you a story about what happens when people with Rolexes and Botox decide they can build 96 luxury homes on land that doesn't belong to them. And I let them finish every single one. See, I inherited 35 acres of the most perfect, unspoiled forest in eastern Washington, the Cedar Bluffs, from my grandpa, Old Man Silas. Paid off, pristine, worth maybe $4 million now, but to him it was priceless. He bought it back in '78, kept every receipt, every timber sale log in these heavy, leather-bound ledgers that smelled like pipe tobacco and WD-40, and when he left it to me, there was just one note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. I hadn't visited the land in 3 years. Not since the divorce, juggling 2 college tuitions and a 70-hour work week as a structural engineer. But I paid the property taxes every April. $5,800, never late, had the email receipts to prove it. Then, one rainy Tuesday, I finally drove up, planning to scatter Silas's ashes. And I turned off the old logging trail, and my stomach just dropped right out of me. The towering pines, the cool, damp earth, all gone. In its place was a sea of beige stucco, 96 Mediterranean-style McMansions with fake balconies and HOA-mandated landscaping. A carved stone sign read, Willow Creek Preserve, a sterling signature community. I checked my GPS 4 times, thinking I was hallucinating. This was my land. At the gatehouse, a security guy stopped me, all bulk and cheap uniform. Before I could even get my old deed photo pulled up, a gleaming white Range Rover Silent pulled up beside us. Out stepped Veronica Sterling, mid-40s, looking like a poorly preserved trophy wife, wearing enough diamond tennis bracelets to feed my family for a year. She looked me up and down, my muddy work boots, my 14-year-old F-150, and filed me under poor instantly. Problemo, Ray? She asked the guard, not even glancing at me. This gentleman claims he owns the development. Veronica finally turned, giving me that practiced, pitying smile. Oh, honey, that's adorable. Look, if you're looking for work, the labor positions are all filled. I can take your number for the gardening crew, I told her, quiet and firm. I'm the legal owner. My grandfather was Silas Miller. She pulled out her phone, scrolling with a nail that cost more than my dental plan. Our title company ran a forensic search. The land was abandoned for 3 years. Adverse possession, darling. It's legally ours. We've already secured $16 million in pre-sales. I cut her off. Adverse possession means nothing if the property taxes were paid, and they were. Every year. Her smile didn't break, but it went sharp. That is so charming. You know just enough to be dangerous. Our attorney, Gary Finch, will explain why your claim is, what's the legal term? Frivolous. She handed me a card like it was contaminated waste, then pulled out her own phone and snapped a photo of my license plate. Just in case you decide to vandalize anything. And trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. The moment her diesel Range Rover pulled away, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely steer. I went home, spread Grandpa Silas's ledgers and my tax receipts across my kitchen table, and I felt a rage I hadn't known since my divorce. She had threatened me, called me a criminal, and just handed me the weapon I needed to bury her. Monday morning, I called Gary Finch's office. The receptionist had that voice, professionally pleasant, like a dentist about to hit you with a $10,000 root canal bill. Mr. Finch, through his mouthpiece, offered me $15,000 to sign a quitclaim deed, $15,000 for $4 million worth of land. It was an insult so vast it was almost funny. Tell Mr. Finch I'll see him in court, I said, and I hung up before she could finish sputtering. I needed a lawyer who made other lawyers check their malpractice insurance. My old college buddy, a civil engineer, gave me one name, Anya Sharma. Her consultation fee was $500. Cash I really didn't have, but her office smelled like old money and lemon polish. The kind of smell that promises competence, Anya. Mid-50s, sharp eyes behind reading glasses. Listened to my entire story without interruption. When I finished, she didn't look at the deed. She looked at the stack of tax receipts. She flipped through them, tracing the dates with a manicured finger, and a tiny, almost invisible smile played on her lips. Colorado statute requires 18 years of hostile, continuous possession, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time, she explained, calm as glass. Since you've been paying, their claim is stillborn. I sighed, relieved. So we file an injunction? Stop construction now? She closed the folder. We could. But here's what happens if we do. Veronica Sterling's LLC declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in 3 years of litigation with the banks, the title companies, and 96 innocent families who bought homes in good faith. It becomes a legal whack-a-mole game where everyone loses. She leaned across the desk, her eyes cold and strategic. But if we let them complete the construction, then file for declaratory judgment, you own 96 completed houses. Willow Creek Preserve has committed textbook, premeditated fraud by selling property they knew they didn't own. They will be desperate to settle because the alternative is prison. It was brutal, cold, and it made perfect, undeniable sense. It turned the game from a fight for land into a fight for criminal exposure. What if they win? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. They won't, Anya said matter-of-factly. But even if they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. I hired her that day. She gave me one rule: silence. No social media, no interviews, don't tell anyone except your kids and one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. The next few months were hell. I drove past Willow Creek Preserve twice a week, parking on the public road with my phone recording everything. I watched the framers swarm like ants, the electricians snake wire, and the landscapers plant mandated shrubs. And every time I visited, I took time-stamped photos. Veronica spotted me in October. 20 minutes later, a Cascade County Sheriff's cruiser pulled up. Deputy Torres, a young guy, clearly uncomfortable, gave me the script. Mrs. Sterling says you're harassing her, sir. I handed him my license. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check the county records, parcel APN X4432. Owner, Jesse Miller. He shifted his weight, his eyes screaming, she's a campaign donor, you're nothing. Look, Mr. Miller, that's a civil dispute. But she's filed a formal complaint. If she calls again, I have to take action. Understand? Translation understood. People like me don't win against people like her. By November, the U-Hauls started arriving. Kids on scooters, the smell of pizza mixing with fresh paint. I watched a young couple carry a crib into House 43, watched an elderly woman plant a rose bush by the front steps, and I felt sick. These weren't villains. These were people who had poured their life savings into the American dream. They were victims, just like me. Thanksgiving week. Veronica sent me a certified letter, 3 pages of dense legal threats demanding I stop trespassing. Attached was a photo of my truck parked on the public road, my license plate circled in red Sharpie, with the handwritten note, "Document everything." I drove straight to Anya's office. She read the letter and started laughing, a deep, genuine belly laugh that cost nothing but meant everything. "They're documenting their own fraud, Jesse," she said, wiping her eyes. "Every photo they take, every threat they make, is evidence that they knew there was a dispute and kept building anyway." "This is beautiful." She put down the letter. "Now I need you to find me everything about Veronica Sterling and her husband, Alistair. Property records, tax liens, criminal history. I want to know who is financing this." I spent the next 2 weeks as an amateur detective. Turns out when you're an engineer, you know how to read plats and permits. Willow Creek Preserve was registered in Delaware. Always a red flag. The financing came from Sterling Capital Group. Digging deeper, I found Alistair Sterling had been sued twice for construction defects and once for investor fraud. Quietly settled, records sealed. This wasn't just Veronica's scam. It was a family business. Then I found the real kicker. The Cascade County permits listed the land as acquired via adverse possession claim filed in March 2024. They had filed the claim, then immediately started selling lots as if the claim had already been granted by a judge. That's premeditated fraud, but then the harassment escalated. January 4th, my daughter Clara texted me, "Dad, did you get arrested? Someone posted on Facebook you're harassing families. It has 300 shares. I logged into Facebook for the first time in years. Pinned to the top of the Cascade Community Watch group was a post by Veronica Sterling, alert. Local man Jesse Miller is stalking our community, taking photos of children. He claims to own the land. It got worse. My son Leo, a line cook finishing culinary school, was visited by a private investigator named Thomas Brennan, who questioned his manager about my temperament and incidents. I was put on paid leave from my job. Then someone spray-painted pervert on my garage door. And finally, an anonymous email threatening me with an IRS audit over my tax returns. They were destroying me, attacking my job, my reputation, my children. They're burning bridges now, Anya said when I forwarded her the IRS threat. This is what rich people do when they panic. They throw money at the problem until the problem goes away. It's working, Anya, I admitted. I can't afford an IRS audit. You won't have to, she countered. They're making mistakes. Desperate people always do. The turning point came 3 days before our first hearing. Anya called. We have the kill shot, Jesse. I got it from a whistleblower, a former business partner of Alistair's who got screwed in an Aspen deal 5 years ago. He's been waiting for revenge. She had the email, the smoking gun. From Alistair Sterling to Veronica Sterling, dated March 12, 2024, Cassie spoke with title attorney. The Miller parcel is not abandoned. Owner Jesse Miller has been paying taxes continuously since 2021. AP claim won't hold up. However, if we move fast, file the AP claim, get permits, and start selling lots before anyone notices, we create enough chaos that Miller settles cheap or gets buried in litigation costs. Worst case, we build everything, file bankruptcy, let the title insurance companies sort it out. We've done this before. Lake Tahoe Project 2019. Risk, medium. Reward, 16 minutos gross they had known. From the absolute beginning, they knew they were stealing my land. The first hearing was a blur. Veronica and Alistair sat across the room, looking relaxed and confident. But when Anya submitted the email to the judge, Judge Eleanor Vance, Alistair Sterling's face went white. The judge read it, her eyebrows disappearing into her hairline. She looked at Alistair and Veronica. Is this email authentic? She demanded. Alistair tried to stand, but his lawyer grabbed his arm. Your Honor, we need to consult with our clients. That sounds like a yes, the judge concluded. Motion to dismiss denied. Case proceeds to an expedited trial, and she issued a temporary restraining order, immediate cease and desist on all sales, marketing, and transfer of property at Willow Creek Preserve. Then she looked straight at Veronica Sterling. And Mrs. Sterling, if I see one more social media post, one more anonymous tip to code enforcement, or one more threat directed at Mr. Miller, I will hold you in contempt. Are we clear? Veronica whispered, Yes, Your Honor, her confidence having evaporated into ash. 2 days later, Anya demanded a $10 million settlement, plus Alistair resigning from all boards and dissolving Sterling Capital. Their lawyer, Diane Kelso, laughed. He'll never agree to that. Then we'll see him in trial, Anya replied, and I'll bring Channel 7 News with me. The next week, I sat in my living room with Patricia Hughes, the investigative reporter from Channel 7. I told her everything. Silas's legacy, the ledgers, the email, the smear campaign, the children caught in the middle. The piece aired a few days later, painting Veronica and Alistair as the land pirates of eastern Washington. My phone exploded. My boss called, welcoming me back to work. But the message that mattered was from a blocked number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. They broke into my house that night. Nothing was stolen, but on my kitchen table, they left a single sheet of paper with 5 words printed in block letters. Drop it or lose everything. Anya was icy. They're cornered, Jesse. People do stupid things when they're cornered. 3 days before trial, the title company, terrified of losing their license, flipped. They admitted Alistair paid them $45,000 under the table to approve the shaky adverse possession claim. We had them trial day, courtroom packed. 40 families from Willow Creek Preserve were there, sitting in the gallery, looking at me with a mix of fear and desperation. Anya's opening statement was a performance, a theatrical dismantling of the American dream corrupted. She held up Alistair's email, blown up to poster size. Your Honor, they didn't just build on his land. They calculated it. They knew they were stealing, and they proceeded anyway, calculating that most people can't afford to fight a multi-million-dollar legal battle. Alistair took the stand, and Anya destroyed him in 40 minutes, turning every answer into a trap. Veronica refused to testify, invoking the Fifth Amendment. At 4:47 p.m., the judge announced she'd issue a ruling in 24 hours. Outside, the homeowners swarmed me. A woman named Sarah, who had cried to me earlier about her life savings, grabbed my arm. "Mr. Miller, please. What happens to us?" I looked at Anya, she nodded, and I spoke loud enough for the reporters to hear. "You keep your homes. Every single one of you. The Sterlings committed fraud, not you. You will own your houses free and clear. That is the settlement we are demanding." The applause was instant and overwhelming. The next morning, the ruling came down. We won everything. Full title to the 35 acres, including the 96 houses. $4.2 million in damages. The Sterlings had to pay all of Anya's legal fees, and the case was officially referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal fraud charges. Alistair was indicted. Veronica took a plea deal. They were done. I could have evicted them, sold the houses myself, and pocketed another $16 million. That's what the law allowed. That's what a lot of people expected. Instead, I called a town hall meeting at Willow Creek Preserve. All 96 families packed into the unfinished clubhouse. I stood at the front with Anya beside me, and the room was silent enough to hear a pin drop. "I know you're scared," I started. "You bought homes in good faith. You did nothing wrong. I'm not here to punish you." I told them I was transferring ownership of all 96 homes to the Silas Miller Community Trust, a nonprofit we were establishing that day. Each family would own their home through the trust at the price they originally paid. No mortgages, no interest, just what they had already invested. The funds would maintain roads, cover taxes, and start a scholarship. Sarah started crying. The applause that followed built up like a thunderstorm, people hugging, shouting thank yous across the room. I kept 5 acres for myself at the north end, the part with the old-growth cedars Silas had always loved. I built a small cabin there, nothing fancy. I wake up every morning to the smell of pine and coffee, and I watch the deer graze. Clara helped me set up the Silas Miller Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 a year for a student studying engineering or environmental science. I think about Grandpa's note sometimes. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." He was right. But what was truly mine wasn't just the land or the money. It was knowing that 96 families sleep safely because I didn't quit. It was justice, the real kind, the kind that heals. So here's my question for you, and I really want to know what you think. If you had been me, and you were given the legal right to become a multimillionaire overnight by kicking out 96 innocent families who only suffered because of the developer's fraud, would you have done it? Would you have kept the land? Or would you have built the community trust? Drop your state and your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about where the line is between property rights and doing the right thing.